Hey everyone, it's Rayma and a very belated Happy Lunar New Year. I am still celebrating in my own part Chinese American way. And what I'm going to do today is I'm still thinking about Gao. I'm still thinking about how to tweak this recipe. So in one of my recent videos, I made two Gao. One was a 2-day recipe that was really complicated that involved milling the rice myself. And one was a 5-minute microwave recipe that my mom gave to me. And so after I made these two recipes, I was really interested in finding a way to combine the pros and cons, or sorry, only the pros of these two recipes. And so I think I'm going to do that today in my own reinvented Gao recipe, and one that really captures, I hope, the flavors of Southeast Asia. So I'll show you how to do that today. So this Gao recipe takes the idea of milling my own sweet glutinous rice flour myself, and I got this idea from Christopher Tan. He mills his rice after soaking it overnight and then milling it in a normal blender. Because I have the Vitamix grain mill, which is actually a different, like, I don't know what you call this, blender attachment than the regular one for liquids, I actually milled my own rice myself dry, and I think they came out pretty fine actually. So I did this in pulses at the highest possible setting for maybe only about 2 minutes, and then it kind of came together. So this is half a pound, about 225 grams of rice, and it comes down to about 1 cup and a quarter of the final milled product. And to kind of give this recipe a distinctly Southeast Asian flavor, I'm going to be using Gula Melaka, which is a coconut sugar. And here in Malaysia and Indonesia, usually it's made with coconut palm. And so they come kind of in these little blocks. And what I have here is, again, about half a pound of the coconut sugar, Gula Melaka, and then I have a quarter of a cup of the regular white sugar. And instead of boiling that with water, I'm gonna boil it actually and melt it down with coconut milk. And I have 1 1/4 cups right here. So I'm gonna combine them together, and I'm gonna put them on a low heat on the stove, simmered all together. And that's gonna be kind of like the sugar water replacement. And my hope is that this will really infuse amazing flavor to my Singaporean take on Gao. Alright, so let me pour the coconut milk in. You can see that here the coconut milk is so much thicker than the stuff that you buy from Trader Joe's in the United States. Ooh, I think I overfilled this a little bit. It's almost like coconut cream, right? Look how thick that is. Okay, I'm using this brand here, which I don't think you can really find outside of the region. It's called I Am brand. We really like it a lot. It's super creamy, super delicious. So I'm gonna put this on the stove and get everything simmering. Alright, so here I have the coconut Gula Melaka mixture just barely simmering away on the stove. You really want to do coconut milk mixtures at the lowest possible heat because coconut milk can actually scout and separate, and you really don't want the fat to separate from the liquid. So in this recipe, I'm replacing the traditional Chinese wonton, which is the slab brown sugar or the rock sugar, with Gula Melaka. And Gula Melaka is really widely available here in Singapore. And if you have ever cooked Thai food, sometimes like Thai curries call for Thai palm sugar, and those usually come in little round slabs, and they're very light brown. My understanding is that Gula Melaka is made from the same raw materials from the palm tree, but I think the processing is different, and Gula Melaka comes out much more strongly flavored than the Thai palm sugar, and also much darker. And it really does have this wonderful caramelly taste, almost with a bitter note. So that's the flavor that I hope will come through with this rendition of a Singaporean Gao. Alright, so let me continue getting these melted, and I'll show you what it looks like at the end. Okay, so here's the final syrup that I made. This would be so good on vanilla ice cream. If you haven't tried Gula Melaka in the United States, I would use coconut cream, which is kind of the equivalent of the coconut milk here, and a little tiny bit of salt, sea salt. It's just an amazing, amazing sauce. All right, so that's gonna go into the rice flour. All right, so I'm gonna pour this syrup into the freshly milled rice, and honestly I should have totally waited to let this cool down, but I'm not because I'm lazy. It'll lump up and clump up, but that's cool because I'm going to put it through a strainer before I put it into my pan. Alright, so let me give this a mix, and then we'll kind of knead everything together. I also need to put in 1/8 of a cup of plain nature-flavored oil, so let me do that too. Alright, so this is what it looks like. Still very clumpy. You have these chunks of mochiko flour. So I'm going to put it through this strainer here, and then I'll just push all of it out. Alright, so the metal bowl is very hot because I did not wait for it to cool. Okay, so I'll sieve this now. Alright, so this is what it looks like after I've run it through the sieve. You can see it's a lot smoother. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to also do one more thing to make this taste super coconutty. And I have some leftover grated coconut that was actually given to me from Bengawan Solo when I bought my kueh. And I guess you're just supposed to kind of put them on top of your kueh, but I never did that. So I have all this extra. It's about maybe 3/4 a cup. And this is different from the coconut that you get in the baking section in the United States, because this is freshly grated. You can see it's still pretty wet. And I think it's also been salted too. So if you're in the United States and you want to use freshly grated coconut, I think the best bet is to go to your local Indian store, and you can find grated coconut in your frozen section of the Indian store. So I got this fresh from Bengawan Solo, and because I have it hanging out, I'm just gonna stick it in. Alright, so let me do that. Alright, so let me incorporate this, and then I'm going to put them into my 4 little ramekin once I have them oiled. Alright, so that was a perfect amount for 4 ramekin. I have these oiled, but I don't have any banana leaves, and that's cool. I found that the banana leaves were really annoying, and maybe I just didn't use enough layers last time, but my batter really stuck to the banana leaves. Alright, so this is going to go in the steamer basket, and it's going to steam for about 3 hours. So we'll check back then. Alright, so it's been 3 hours, and I've just taken these off the heat, and I've decorated them with some jujubes, or Chinese red dates, which I've soaked in some warm water for 3 hours, and a sprinkling of white sesame seeds. I can see that these are more mottled than traditional gao, and I think it's the coconut maybe that made it kind of lumpy looking. That's okay. And they're very soft when I poked the little chopstick into it, which I covered up with the date. Softer than typical, but I think that these need to sit for a couple days. My mom likes to have these sit for 3 days, and she thinks that on day 3, gao is sort of at the pinnacle and at the peak. So they're definitely too soft to unmold and to eat right now, but I'll give them a taste test in a couple days' time. Alright, so it's been maybe about only 90 minutes or so. I know I said that I would wait 3 days to unmold these, but I could not wait. I had to try with the first one, and it came out super easily. It's still a little bit warm, so I have Bart here. I'm going to cut a slice, and we're going to do a taste test of my coconut Gula Melaka Gau. Okay, here they are. Bart, I'll give you this piece with the jujube on it.
Ooh, sticky.
Oh, pretty sticky. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is better than the ones you made before.
Isn't it better than the other two? I really like the. Okay, well, actually,
it has a marzipan vibe.
Oh, it has a marzipan vibe. Okay, but there's no almonds. Okay, so now I'm gonna try one. I like this. I also put freshly grated coconut in, leftovers from the Bengawan Solo desserts. Despite putting 50% sugar to rice, it doesn't taste sweet, right?
Sweet enough.
It doesn't really taste sweet. Well, I really like the texture. It's still very soft. It stayed zero Gau. And the milled rice is not as fine as the commercial mochiko. So you can taste a little bit of the grittiness. And a little bit of the crunch of the coconut too, so it's not super fine texture.
Better because there's some texture.
Yeah, I like it better. And even though I used 100% coconut milk to replace the water, but not overwhelming. And you can really taste the riciness, which you don't get from the commercial mochiko bar degrees. So I have to say, this is better than my mom's microwave recipe, and it's better than the 2-day one. I think this is the best of both worlds. And you could probably microwave this too if you don't want to steam it for 3 hours. But this is like totally kick ass, and I'm very pleased with my idea, and I'm very happy it came out. So I'll try this again at day 3, and I'll see how the texture firms up. So I hope you try this too.